You're listening to the BNI Effect, the podcast for Brisbane entrepreneurs who believe in givers gain. I'm Tony Meredith, and ordinarily I'm a business coach who specialises in sales and leadership. But today I'm your host and fellow BNI member. In this episode, I get to chat with another Brisbane BNI member to explore their biggest wins, biggest lessons, and how you can get the most out of your BNI membership. This is episode number 106, and today's guest is Chris Schutte from Interact Global. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's
Thank you for
great to
being
be
here.
here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too, mate. Well, listen, BNI is what has brought you and I together. So let's kick it off. What's the best referral you've either given or received through BNI?
Tony, it's quite an interesting story. I'm going to try and make it short, but it was actually my first referral that I ever did in BNI.
Wow.
And that happens because I joined BNI just before Christmas. So then went into the Christmas holidays and nothing was happening. So I had 1 week of BNI behind me. And I then went to a dinner party and way out of Brisbane. And somebody asked me, said to me across the table, which I didn't know, said to me, "Do you know a conveyancing attorney in Brisbane?" And of course, I didn't know anybody. And I just said, "Yes, of course I do, because I've just joined BNI. There must be somebody there." And anyway, the long and the short of it, that turned out to be a great opportunity. And then we became friends. Well, first of all, I got a call in February to say, "Listen, thank you very much for that referral. It turned out great. And thank you for the business and all the stuff." And I then turned around and said, "Well, mate, that's great." And then he turned around and said, "Okay, can we perhaps meet up for a coffee so that we can just get to know your business for a change?" And I said, "Oh, that's great." And that's how the spirit of BNI works. So it seems like it. And then the next minute, had a coffee that was supposed to be 45 minutes, which turned into a 2 hour, half an hour coffee. And eventually we were standing around motorbikes, looking at motorbikes. And then from that on, we started riding motorbikes and we became friends.
Wow.
So it's all about finding the opportunity and giving the referral and don't look back.
I love it. And so when did you first discover BNI, Chris?
It was in 19 in 2021, just in COVID, and I've just moved to Brisbane. And I then thought, well, I need to sort of try and make contact with business community. And the first part was in a trying to get into business networking. And at a business networking event that those days was very popular in terms of trying to get people to connect a little bit because everything was disjointed. And I got invited to an online BNI. And that's where I got my first introduction to BNI.
And so what were your thoughts about that first meeting?
That was not my greatest experience because everything was a bit disjointed in terms of Zoom and COVID, and it was a new chapter that was trying to start, and it didn't look that exciting as there was only 10 people in the room online. So it wasn't really, it was disjointed. However, 6 months later, I was sitting in a conversation with a client that I referred to a client in terms of somebody that was doing work for me, service deliveries for me. And he's turned around to me and he says, "Do you know about BNI?" And I said, "Yes, I've been to BNI in an online meeting, and yeah, I'm not really keen on that." He said to me, "Well, why don't you come to my chapter and have a look?" Well, I went to that chapter and I've never looked back. And I'm still in the same chapter 3 years later.
So what was it about that meeting then that led you to stick around 3 years later?
It was, first of all, the structured approach, but also the fact that so many people in the room could all deliver and have a chance to deliver a message about their business, and that the kind of camaraderie that was in the room. And that is, I think, the major thing about why I joined, was the opportunity that I saw in the camaraderie and the support one get in business. And remember, it was just in COVID or when we were starting to come out of COVID. So the support for one another was really important. And it was the first time we started to get out and about again. And that made such an impression to me that people want to support one another.
So, how long into your BNI journey did you realize that this BNI thing was going to be worth it for you?
Uh, I sort of, well, first of all, the first thing was when I managed to pass a referral, my first referral on, and we became friends. But also, then they became one of my major clients, who is one of my consistent clients now for the last 3 years on a very, very regular basis. So we became friends and clients.
Amazing.
But for me, it was within the first month. I really thought, look, I can really relate here. I can build my business opportunities.
So, what do you do consistently in BNI that brings you results, Chris?
Uh, try and keep my one-to-one ratio consistent, and I focus on building trust with members in my chapter and also outside my chapter. Um, And then the other thing is, I don't try and sell to them, and my product is not something you want to sell. It is more about educating my teams and my group and making sure that the people understand my business so that they could represent me. And
Fantastic.
when people grasp the business, that's when they want to refer you and when they trust you.
We recently had our awards and you won an award. Tell us about that.
Sorry, yeah, I was in the Master Networker group in terms of I think it was the bronze one. But it's all about just making connections and bringing people into the room, inviting people, making people in connecting people in terms of uh, reaching out to them in various aspects, spotting opportunities for people. I think that's the important thing is to be able to give other people an opportunity to enjoy their business or present their business or broadcast their business.
Well, I mean, you did it in week one, and it sounds like you're still doing it today. So, one of the BNI values, the core values, is recognition. So, congratulations again on winning that award, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much, Tony.
In regards to the flip side, what are some mistakes that you see some members make that perhaps prevents them from maximising the BNI opportunity?
Tony, that is an interesting question, but I think that when people try and sell in their first one-to-one, that's when I've seen where people don't start focusing on the relationship, but try into a transactional situation. And I really would like to urge people, especially when they come into BNI, try and educate and show your fellow members what your business is about without trying to get them to purchase from you.
Fantastic. Let's chat about your business now. So, Interact Global, just give us a brief overview of what it is that you do and the main services that you provide.
Uh, Tony, my business is Interact Global, and we are quite a unique business in and finding ourselves also in BNI because it's not the regular kind of business, but it's all about the HR space. And what it is not only aimed at the C-suite or the big businesses. It's all about being able to provide organizations and even small business the opportunity to understand the potential that they are hiring or the why people do things and how people will do things. And especially in the short skills market, that's where we become quite a unique service offering, that it's cost effective, but it also helps people to understand why why people will do things, because that is usually where the sandpaper starts happening when you've hired somebody and you did it on a gut feel. 3 months down the line, you start having sandpaper moments. When you start having sandpaper moments, that's when things go pear shape and demotivation and disengagement is from both sides, employer and from employee side of things. And what we do is we provide the insights before you take on your staff in terms of understanding what kind of uh, uh, person are you hiring, whether it, even if it's a short skill situation, you can understand where the gaps are. And before you know where the gaps are, that's where you can cover it. And that's what we provide. We provide more than one solution in terms of successful staff. So we've got 70 different assessments that can help a company to be successful and make the right choices. Uh, for example, I've just had a case study where it's an engineering company, and they discovered that a can-do attitude is something you must measure and which works for them in success. But if they don't do it in relation with troubleshooting and with problem solving as also a high measurement, that is when they have a drop off. So those two factors plays a very important role. So that's for an example.
So at a high level, and you mentioned you've got 70 different assessments, so I'm not asking you to rattle off all 70, but just at a high level, what are some of those, the key assessments, Chris, that your business provides?
Uh, Tony, the most popular one is our interdisc, or the dominance, influence, steadiness measurement, which is a behavior assessment. That's how people will do things. The second part to that is usually emotional intelligence, which is usually used for development. And then the next part is cognitive side, which is an indication of trainability. And that is the big aspect these days, is how trainable is a person to learn new skills. Particular now that we've got AI moving in, have you got the skills or the cognitive abilities to learn how to instruct AI?
And also from a testing point of view, you have different tests for different roles within the organization as well, don't you?
Yep, we do. So we've got quite several. So it's industry specific. So if we're looking at mines and trading and tradies, it's more about safety and in terms of being able to measure a person's attitude towards safety and also troubleshooting, for example, and then also a little bit in terms of there's also a cognitive element in those specific things, but it's mostly in terms of mathematics or then mechanical, and then healthcare, for example, and hospitality. A few interesting ones there.
What makes your business different?
Uh, what makes us different is the fact that we're not a one-trick pony. So we have a solution for various aspects um, of the trouble or the problems that a client develops around staff in terms of being able to finding solutions, especially when it comes to high staff turnover. In particular, that's where we come in and reduce staff turnover.
And what's a common problem that your clients face, and how does Interact Global solve it?
So only mostly, or these days, it's a lot about staff turnover. It's almost daily we have a conversation with a client that says, we've got a staff turnover issue. Um, and because a lot of companies are under pressure in terms of they can't find the right skills, so they just take on whatever they can. And then the turnover starts because it's either people, or somebody said to me the other day, oh yeah, maximum lifespan is a year, then the people move on. And I disagree with them because it's you can actually, if you know what are the trigger points for an individual and you know how to manage them, then you can have a lot more success and you can have longevity of staff. But that's the most important part, is that you must be able to recruit against the benchmark and know what's the gap. If you don't know what the gap is between the expectation of the job and the individual, you're actually just wasting your time, because then a report is just a nice to have and not a working document.
Yeah, interesting. Who's an ideal referral for you right now?
Uh, Small and larger organizations struggling with staff turnover. We see it quite a bit in the retail at the moment, where they have high staff turnovers, and that they struggle to sustain staff. So that is a good referral for us. But at the moment, I'm focusing a lot on the trade industry, where we try and help tradies or tradesmen to find more staff, which is everybody complains about. I don't have enough staff. I can't find staff. But then if you find the staff, what do you need to do to keep them?
Very good. Let's play a word association game now. I'm going to say a word and I'm looking for a short, sharp response from you. So let's start with networking.
Business with a pulse.
Oh, I like it. Referrals.
Trusts with legs.
Success.
Boring consistency.
Coffee.
Unofficial business partner.
Giver's gain.
Uh, the best kind of selfishness.
Sport.
Burn off. I mean, burn off.
Team.
Mm, strength that you can borrow.
And BNI.
Serendipity.
Amazing. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to grow their business through networking, what would it be, Chris?
Do not treat your room as a room of buyers. Treat the room as a group of people that need to learn how to advocate you.
I like it. So, Chris, what's one exciting thing in your business right now that you'd like the listeners or viewers to know about?
They shouldn't just use their gut feel. Um, how do we make better people decisions overall is the solutions that we offer. And we can do it on a scientific and a structured based way to make proper people decisions, which can cost you dearly if you don't these days. And a lot of people will know what I'm talking about because most companies have made that mistake in the past, and which can save you heaps of money.
And how can listeners learn more about your business or get in touch with you, Chris?
In most cases, where they're hiring or promoting people or trying to get a better performance from their staff, that's when they look at our website, www.interact.global.co or .com.au. Either one of them works. And or on LinkedIn, they can get hold of me there, or alternatively, contact us at Interact Global on Google.
Amazing. Thank you, mate. Look, that wraps up another episode of the BNI Effect. Many thanks to today's guest, Chris Schutte, for sharing his insights with us and showing us what's possible. If you're a BNI member, perhaps take an idea that Chris has shared and implement it over the next week. And if you're a visitor to BNI, I hope that you've seen how powerful this network really can be. Subscribe to hear or view more real stories from Brisbane BNI members. And until next time, give more, trust more, grow more.